stuff. I know that Paul Stewart earlier today was talking about process flows and all of that fun stuff, and that's basically, I'm going to show you some ways to do that using what we have. Sounds really strange, doesn't it? Sound tinny? Oh. So I'm going to show you some ways you can put what Paul was talking about into practice using some of the modules and things that we have. So this is basically what we're talking about, the paperless solution. It's paperless, but not just paperless, it's process improvement as well, using the event manager, the contact manager, document imaging, and it will help you to kind of smooth out all your processes and actually create new processes that are better and improved. All right, those of you who don't know me, I'm Pietro Dace. I'm the Director of Advanced Services. I've been with Component Control 15 years, actually this year. I was started off like everybody else in technical support, then managed technical support, and then managed the stock market, and then from there the network services, and now I have a new department which is Advanced Services. Advanced Services kind of grew out of the time that I had in Component Control, all the experience you gather and all the questions that people ask when on site, whether you want to improve your processor, do you know how to do this, do you know what you have that'll make this better? So what I do is I go on site as Advanced Services and kind of look over everything you have and see what we have to improve on what you have already, or change what you have into something that's more best practice or better overall, and it'll actually save you time, money, and make it much, much better. All right, in this session we're going to talk about, like I said, event manager, document imaging, and contact management, and as well how all three of them work together to make the process better. I have a nice little slogan at the bottom there. When I go on site, it says the problem is never how to get new, innovative thoughts in your mind, but how to get the old ones out. Because a lot of times everybody's set in their ways on site. They have processes already in place that maybe even for quantum are not correct, but they've done it for so many years, and that's the way it works. Or that's the way you've worked for so long. So what we do is we walk in, kind of change the processes, and put all of these new modules and this new functionality into what you do. And by the time we walk out, you will have new practices in place, and everything should be better. We're going to start off talking about the modules first. We're going to talk about document imaging solution, talk about what document imaging actually is, how we can find document imaging in quantum, and how document imaging will help us in our processes. I'm sure most of you have document imaging. It's one of our most popular modules. It's really a good piece of software. Actually, we'll talk about the event manager and the report scheduler, and what the event manager has included with it, and how to make your own events, and a few other things. It's actually a little bit techy, but over the years, it's gotten to be a lot easier to use and a lot easier to schedule events. We actually have training videos now, I think, for most of these. And also, we're going to talk about contact management. Contact management, again, is a really, really powerful module. And we'll talk about how we're going to get that, where the touch points are in quantum, and how it's going to use to improve our processes. Again, how are we going to put all these three together to make the processes work? How to make your processes better. Document imaging. There's not that long ago that you walk into offices and you see piles of paper everywhere. Not that long ago at all. Even today, some clients have piles and piles of papers, of certifications and things, and file cabinets full of paper. Now, with document imaging, you don't really have to have that anymore. Now, once you scan, and we'll go through it, I'll jump ahead of myself. Okay, the touch points in quantum. Quantum has document imaging at these touch points. You can attach images to any one of these records here. Companies, customer quotes, sales orders, invoice, parts master, stock, receiving, repair orders, warranty, aircraft services, shop control, receiving reconciliation, vendor quotes, contact management, lot module, manufacturing, purchase order, accounting, remote inventory management, and shipping management. And I probably missed a few in there somewhere. I know that fact. But by putting the images there, they'll always be there. So this is the touch points that we have in quantum, and I'll show you how to find them exactly. We'll start off with the receiving process. I think most of the important scanning and the document imaging comes into play at receiving, when the package comes to you. So when the package comes to you in a box, you have all the traceability information, the invoices, the purchase order, all the packing, and all of that. By using the receiving module and the images button at the bottom there, once you click on that, you're able to scan all that documentation into Quantum. Once it's there, it's there. So when you scan in a purchase order, you scan in your 8130s, you scan all that documentation, it then goes in and it's attached itself to a stock line. Whatever you receive in, it's there. It's there today, it's there 10 years from now, it's there 20 years from now. So when you have it in your system, you can always use it as a reference. And I'll show you how you can actually reference it later. But that's the most important part. Those of you who don't use a receiving module, you have to use a receiving module. The old days of receiving directly from a purchase order or receiving through a repair order, those days are numbered. This is the way you should do it. It's only 1 or 2 steps more in the receiving process, but it's worth it. With the receiving module, you go ahead and you actually add the stock lines to it. It basically looks the same as receiving on a PO. You add the lines the same way, but you get an opportunity to actually reject the product or approve the product and then finalize the receiving. That's basically the only difference here. But there's a lot more functionality to it if you look to split serial numbers and a lot of other functionality. But if you're still using it the old way, still receiving the PO, this is what you have to do. And actually, there's a training video for this as well. So this is how you have to do it. This way, you have document imaging right there in front of you. So when the box comes in, they put in the paper into any scanner, any feed scanner, click on that, it'll feed it in, and then it'll open up. Then it'll save it to the stock line. So when you do that, it's going to open up this window. This is the document imaging window. It'll ask what type of documents you're scanning in. An image code underneath there will actually specify what type of image that is. Is it an 8130? Is it certs? Or is it internal documents? I try to keep this simple because you can get complicated really quickly. So I like to have 2 different types with this. I like to have an internal and a certification. So the certification type, which you're going to scan your 8130s in, we'll attach them. We'll have different capabilities later. They'll be able to be printed out on shipping. They'll be able to send them out when the event manager later. We'll show you how they send them out that way. So it's much, much nicer to do it this way. And then the internal side, nothing happens to. They stay in, they're attached to your stock line. You can see them, they don't go anywhere. The mistake people make at the beginning with document imaging is either scanning them all into one type or making too many types. So there's been types that I've seen there are hundreds and hundreds of type codes, one specifically for every document, and it gets too complicated. It's much too complicated. I think it's better to keep it simple to a certain type. Even if there's 3 or 4 types of images, it's better to stay simple. Then when you're receiving people do this, it's understandable and people can work with it. So basically once you scan it in, as you can tell here, the image is there forever. That image window is a typical window in all of Quantum. So everywhere you're going to have imaging, your scan or add an image, it'll look just like this. So you get options here to add. There's actually one more option here. There's an add if you have any document you have on the hard drive, let's say a PDF, a JPEG, any kind of images. If you have anything like that, you would click the add and you can add it directly from the hard drive. But if you're going to scan, it'll open up the scanning software and it'll actually scan directly into Quantum. There's one more. There's Scan ISIS, which is the faster driver. It's a little bit different, but it's a bit faster and more commercial grade of scanning. But this window's the same everywhere. You have different options at the bottom here. You can save this directly to file. On the left side here, up where it says flag, you'll be able to flag multiples here. And the multiples, then you can either save them to the file, or from here, if you click on the files you want, email, it opens up the files in a browser. It'll open up the files in your email. So then once it's open, then you can just put somebody's email in and send it off if somebody calls to do that. Also, you can actually print them if you like to print them, or you can flag them off for any of the options. Actually, on the top there, if you see the top left where it says the exclamation point on the little piece of paper, you can flag the ones you want and then drag them into your email. Or drag them into a PDF creator, it'll create the PDF, or drag them to your hard drive, it'll actually save them there for you. So that little option on the top there, which I can't figure out how to get this little thing to work. Oh, nope. Well, we won't try that one. Well, wait, there it is. So that little flag button right there. So if you highlight those and then click on that, you can drag it to whatever you want to do, and it'll actually copy them and create a PDF out of it. But you'll become familiar with this. I'm not sure how many people have document imaging already. See, so everybody's got it already. So that's good. That's good. Now, using it, as long as you, like I said at the beginning here when I said the type codes, it's really important to scan well initially, to have it organized well by the type code initially. Those type codes have a lot of options to them. The print on shipping, the visible to stock market, all of that stuff comes from those type codes. So if you pick out the wrong one or you scan everything to one, you can have your POs on the stock market. I mean, it's not the first time it's happened. So we have to make sure that you do this, you start well initially. Either we'll change the codes or make them historical, because now if you notice in quantum, almost everywhere in quantum now, if you look at any of the data grids, like the type codes or the condition codes, things like that, there's a little historical flag that you can flag now. Once you tag that, it hides it, so that it won't show up in that table anymore. Same thing with here. If once you open it up and you flag it historical, it won't show up anymore, and then you can make new codes for yourselves. Something that's cleaner, so you won't have to worry about it. Like I said, internal, external, basically, certification and internal. Seems to work the best so far. All right, so now, once you scan it in, all these documents on receiving, you'll see that now they appear on the stock line. Actually, the bottom left there's supposed to be a little icon that got cut off, but it shows a little image picture. A little square image, and that means there's images attached to this. So you can go there anytime you want to see that information. Whenever it was received, like I said, years and years down the road, it could be sold, anything can happen to this part, it will still be on the stock line. And the images don't store, everybody's worried about the images storing in the database. The images aren't stored in the database, they're stored outside in a separate folder. There's pointers in the database that point to the image, but they're stored somewhere else. So the database size will not be affected by the images. The images will all be somewhere else. So you can scan to your heart's content. I mean, meaning resolution-wise, still should be within reason. 150 DPI to keep the size, about 500K, up under a meg is good. If you scan the top resolution, they end up being very large very quickly. So when you open up quantum, it takes a while for them to render. It's easier to keep them under a meg, keep them relatively small. And they still look good. They're just a little bit smaller. So here, like I said, you can go to, if you want to check, you can go through and do the same thing. If you're trying to quote this part out, or someone wants the 8130, go to the stock line, print email, and off it goes. Okay. Same thing here. If you want to send it to a customer, you go ahead and just go to the stock line, click email, and it'll open up an email to that customer with that attachment. And if depending on how many you have there, you can select as many as you like, attach it, and send it off. See, there's those. So it'll attach. You actually, from there, you can click on. And now, if you have 30, 40 images, it'll all attach. I've checked for limits. I didn't find any yet. So you can attach as many as you like to that. Also, in the quoting module, and I'm not sure many people know this in the quoting module, but once you quote a part, once in the stock line, if you quote a part on the detail and you're quoting it and actually select a stock line, any images attached to that stock line will now be able to print when you print the quote. So if you add 10 lines on your quote and you pre-select all the stock lines you want to send or to quote them, at the end here, if you put this on email here, destination, and select this box here, it will add the quote plus all the attachments that you have set in the special code for shipping. It will print out those attached documents. I mean, it'll actually send them on the email. So now you have the quote and the 8130s and all the source information, the cert information on there. So it only lights up when you have it on email. If you have it set on preview, it won't let you do anything. Only on email. So you set that on email, it creates the quote. It'll have whatever you're sending it to here, but it'll have the quote and all the attachments to it. And that's on this function. That's a really nice function because now everything you have pre-selected, and you pre-selected it for a reason, right? You pre-selected it because people want this part. It'll have all their cert documentation with it. It's a really nice function. Actually, so as well for the trace documents, when using the shipping module, which is another important module, that's the module where you would create all the documentation that you would need to ship out. It would create the packing slip, it would create the customs invoices. It'll create all that documentation that you need going out. And it'll also print all the images that are attached. So if you have, again, like the quote, you have all of your certs attached that you need to print out at the time of shipping. When you change the status of shipping to create the invoice and all of that, it'll print all those documents along with it at the same time. So your person in the warehouse won't have to go back to the stock lines and print anything out. It'll print them all for him at the same time to whatever printer that you destined for it. So basically at the same time, it'll create the customs invoice, shipping, and all that documentation will be done at one time. And that's everything that you do at the beginning. And that's what I was saying, it's important at the beginning. This only happens if you have a type that's checked as print on shipping. If you don't have, print on shipping. If you don't have that selected, it won't show up here. So you have to really think about how you use documentation at the very beginning, or even try to rethink it on what you want it to do for you. If you're right now just scanning in one type code, we have to really start breaking that apart. Then we have to even try to maybe redistribute the images around a little bit. Better now than later, because it's only going to get bigger over time. There's people with hundreds of thousands of images, and we don't want to get to that point and then have to go backwards and fix it. It's better to start now, look at it, clean it up a little bit, so then we can do all this fun stuff later. All right, also, not just for pretty much parts and all of that, on the company record, we have, you can actually scan like their quality surveys and their resale license and all of that and just attach it to the company record. I use this as part of kind of the quality assurance, like Paul Stewart was talking about, when you send out the company, the vendor performance request or the vendor quality survey. I would scan it here, and now we'll use it as part of the event to actually send this out to the customer 90 days before they expire, and then so they can get this blank sheet right here before, so they can fill it out and send it to you. But once you get it back, then you scan it here the same way. So it becomes part of a process. It becomes part of, well, first we'll send them the document, then they fill it out, then we send it back, and so the event manager then work in with the rest of it. So this is okay. Also, at the time of shipping, especially these days, everybody wants kind of a verification of packaging. Is it packaged well? Is it your fault if it's broken? Is it my fault? I've received, just lately, packages that have just been destroyed by FedEx, UPS, DHL, all those companies. They're just destroyed. Who are they going to blame? I blame the person who packed it, right? They didn't pack it right. So now what you can do, at the time of shipping, the person in the warehouse will take a snapshot of that part. We'll attach it to the shipping order. And when the shipping order goes out with the airway bill, so's the picture. And as many as you want. If you could put backwards, forwards, inside, outside, however you want to do it, you can attach it. It will send the email like this, and on the email will have all the images of how it's packaged. Really nice feature. I mean, it really is nice because now, everybody that's shown this, we put it to practice right away. It's really a simple integration point. We can just show somebody in the warehouse how to do it, and they're off and running. And it adds a nice quality to the end, right? Especially if you're not using the shipping notification and shipping and Event Manager, you should use it. Because now you're relying on FedEx and UPS to send out the airway bill to the client. But you lose your branding, you lose your name, you lose all of it. You have now FedEx's name up there with your airway bill. You should really keep your branding, have your company name up here, and then have the pictures attached to it. It kind of is the final treatment to the client. You see all of your information on there. Now, that was the first part, imaging. Does anybody have questions about imaging? I know imaging is, we're trying to get 3 subjects together in one seminar, which is kind of tough, but yes? Okay, I can't hear. I don't have a microphone. You have a microphone? Wait. Oh, resizing. Oh, we actually just did some work on resizing. There's actually, in that browser, in this window, it's actually, this is PDF, right? We try to scan everything to PDF, because PDF is much nicer to work with, right? For multiple pages, because TIFFs are a pain, because Windows thinks they're a virus, and they always become a problem. Image, like JPEGs and things like that, you think of JPEGs, right? Like pictures. We've just did some changes to resize it to make it so there's going to be an option, I think on 10.5, that you can actually says resize to fit the window. But I try not to use JPEGs anymore. Now when you scan, I mean, maybe the old ones you have, leave them alone. But the new ones, I think I set yours already to option to make them PDF when you scan. So I think everything going in is PDF. It just, look at it, opens up in a nice PDF window. And you can actually print there, attach to, and then see them here. It's a much nicer arrangement. And PDFs attach better, they email better. Sometimes images, they don't quite get across that well. So we try to do it this way. It's just much nicer. Anything else? Okay, we'll move on. Okay, Event Manager and Report Schedule is my favorite, but it's pretty popular. I mean, anywhere I would go to show somebody this module, they would have to get it because it does a lot of the work that people spend a lot of time doing. It doesn't have to be done. It can be automated in minutes. There's a lot of different scenarios and a lot of different changes, and a lot of things it can do, actually. So let's go through it. We'll go through the process here. Okay. The Event Manager has a lot of different functionality. It is a report scheduler. It could schedule reports, crystal reports, any reports that you have in Quantum. It can schedule, well, any reports that are forms designer reports. It can schedule them out whenever time you want. So you can set it all up, have a sales report go to a client or to a salesperson at 3 o'clock in the morning, different time zones, whatever you want to do. It also has notifications like shipping notifications. So if something's shipped, it'll queue the shipping notification out to the client. It'll actually send invoices to the client. It'll do everything automatically in the background for you. It'll send AR statements, and it'll do a lot of functionality in the background. It comes basically with 35 standard email alerts, and those email alerts are things like company approval, when you want to send the vendor survey out to clients, and you want to schedule 60, 30, 0 days so they can send the survey back. It's all written, like we saw in this back here, in XML. So these are basically like websites. You can go through and take the text out, open it up in the text editor, take the text out, change what you want to see, and then save it, and then you have it. These fields up here, they're automatic. The color you pick and the logo you pick. It's really simple. It's like within 15 minutes it's up and running, basically. So we tell it to take the logo from your website, or we take the logo from our website, your company logo on our website, because it's sized perfect to fit here. So we put that on there, and all of a sudden you have your color and you have your branding. So we do that. So we also have, over the years, we were to a point where we were doing all the custom scripts for everybody. You would come to us, we would do them. We can still do that, but now we built it in where you have the opportunity to do your own. If you know a little bit of SQL, you can write your own script, tell it what to do, and then embed it in Quantum the same how we would do it. Okay, you can schedule your embedded crystal reports. I'll show you some crystal reports functionality that we have that's brand new. It'll be in 10.5, so I'll show you what it looks like here. We also now created the ability to attach Excel. Before it was all PDFs, it was everything attached. Now there's Excel. So now if you want to build like a posted invoices for today extract, you can do that. And it'll send someone a CSV file with all the invoices attached. Store procedures. Store procedures are kind of fun. Store procedures do a lot of work for you. So let's say every day at 1 o'clock in the morning, it'll look, the event manager will wake up, run a store procedure that says, look at quotes that are older than 30 days and close them. Or look at quotes that are over this, close them, look at these scenarios, look at different things that happen, and then and change it. Or let's say there's no airway bill in these shipping orders. Send me an email with all these shipping orders that don't have airway bills, and they're posted. So all these different things can happen in the background. It's really nice because you kind of prune the data without doing anything. You just tell me what you need to do, we can do it and just set it up, and it always runs. So you'll always be able to make sure that certain things are correct in the data. Because it's all about the data, because you can't do anything, report or do anything if the data is not correct or the data is not there. It has a drag and drop interface, which I'll show you. You can schedule anything, reports, emails, fax. You can print a folder. There's certain CSV file that I have set up for a client where it makes a CSV file for the bank, and the bank then goes on the FTP site, and they come and get the FTP site, the file, and bring it down and put all their accounting for the day, and they post it that way. So you can do a lot of neat things with it. You can post different files in different places, and if you have integration or an API into something else, then we can make a file, whatever they have connectivity with, and they can upload that file to their software. We have a lot of nice variables in there, so everybody gets the right data, or gets the right report. Let's say the salesperson. We use a salesperson variable, which I'll show you. If something happens to that sales order, that salesperson will get a notification. If a purchase order has been received on the sales order, that salesperson will get the notification that it's ready to ship. So we can have it set up with variables. We also have variables for the company. So on top of just the company, or the customer that's in the sales order, we can set up the Rolodex entries to actually be the person who's going to get it. So let's say you want the invoice to go to the AR department of company ABC. You go to the Rolodex and you flag that user to get invoices. So in the event manager, you can tell it what to do. You can tell it, send it to the person flagged as invoice for any of these clients. So they'll be able, the AR department then will get the invoice directly. This is the basic event manager interface. It's empty. I tried to find one that was empty. They're usually all full. On the left side here are things that are scheduled, which there's nothing scheduled. On the right side are the options you get. You have options of reports, emails, and scripts. Scripts are different things like we've added this functionality. Well, it's been there for a while, but I think people are using it more now, is the ability to change quantum messaging to email. So when you're in Quantum and you select, I want to send Joe a message, you can type the message there, click OK, it'll send it to Joe's email. Not just in Quantum anymore where it says you have messages, because that was it was the days of Quick Quote, the DOS product years ago that would say you have messages in big letters, but I don't think it's being used anymore that it should be used. So now from there, it'll send the email, it'll have the part number in it that you're sending it from, and then your message at the bottom. So it's kind of a nice thing. So you never have to leave Quantum even to email the people that are in Quantum. You can just kind of flag it and run. That's one of the scripts. But the email functionality, like Audit Trail. Audit Trail is a very popular script event because you can decide, you can actually track if, let's say, the credit limit for a company has been changed today. At the end of the day, it'll run the script, and it'll tell you who changed it, what it was, what it is. Or who changed the part number, which is actually very popular as well. If someone people change part numbers all the time when they're not supposed to change part numbers. So you end up with an email, which should be daily, because if you let this go for a month, it becomes way too much data to deal with. So every day, you get an email that says, this part number A-100 is now A100, so you find out who did it and then go fix the problem. So it'll tell you, so we get these alerts, but it can be for any field in Quantum. Any field that's traced in Quantum, you can decide, or any table. I do it field by field because otherwise there's too much data. If you add a company, there's a lot of data in the company table. So you pick out the fields that you want. Do you want the address? If the address changes, do you want the company name changes, the part number? Anything that you want to track that's important, that maybe you have history or someone that you want to find out what's happening, you do it here. It'll send you the notification at the end of the day, and then you're ready to go. So that's the basic interface, and I'll show you how it looks like this way. This is basically how you do it. When you drag and drop from the right to the left, it'll come up with this window here. This window allows you to schedule however you want to schedule. I mean, there's so many options here. You can do daily, weekly, monthly, beginning of the month, end of the month, once at the beginning of the year, end of the year, all this type of functionality. And it's kind of nice at the end of the year to do an inventory cost report at the end of the year, like the 31st of December at 11:59. Run this inventory cost report. Then tax time, you have your inventory cost for the end of the year. Because, trying to get that later is not that easy. So it's better to find out right now how to do it. Or maybe a state of your accounts at that point at the end of the year, or the beginning of the month, however you want to do it. So also every 5 minutes, things that you set up that want to keep polling every 5 minutes to check, like PO receivings or parts that have been received, then you would set up every 5 minutes. So and then every business hour and all of that. So there's quite a bit of options. On the left side here, you'll see that the title and how it's scheduled. Now here, these are variables, customers. So this AR statement received. or a payment received. That's part of the process that I'll show you in the future, where if a payment's received from a customer, the moment it posts into your system, it sends that nice little email that says, thank you for your payment. And I've been getting quite a bit, but I'm not sure everybody wants to get that, but I like that. It's kind of a little warm touch at the end when the payment's been received. And you can dress it up nicely. My bank does all the time. They have a nice little thing that says, thank you, the payment's been posted. And it's happening more and more. Now I'm actually getting a lot of them, so I'm not sure how it's going to look 10 years from now, but right now I can deal with it. So right now this is set to go to the customer, and also the employee who's receiving it, they get it. So at the end of the day, they can actually run a quick look at their email and see what payments they received. The template that we'll look at next, these templates is what it looks like, actually, what the XML looks like. Then you have what's going to be in the subject of the email. The reply to is basically where it's going to send from as well. So if you said accounting at component control, when they get the email, it's going to say from accounting at component control. So it's nice, because you want to send it from one generic email. You want to send it from shipping at component control or something like that. So it's more. So when they reply back, it replies back to that department or a person. Same thing with blank recipient. If someone's not flagged, if there's no email address for that person, it'll come to a blank person. It'll come to somebody so they can actually find out what the problem is and fix that email address. It's all about email addresses. Clean Rolodexes. I'll specify that real quick. With clean Rolodexes and email addresses, make sure they're up to date and clean, because you're going to find after you put this into production and start using this, you're going to find a lot of errors, because salespeople always like to copy and paste email addresses into Rolodexes, and they have the brackets, and they have this, and they have that. So you're going to have a big mess of email addresses to clean. So the first thing I do before we even implement something like this is to export all the email addresses in the customer list into an Excel, so you can look at all of them first and see how many are bad, and then go and fix the ones that are there. Because you don't want to keep going back and fixing when you can do it all in one shot. Here are some parameters down below here. Now you can decide that I want to send only AR payment received to the salesperson that you specify here, the salesperson, whoever was on the sales order. So you specify here who that salesperson is, so it only sends it to clients who have that salesperson. And actually at the same time too, if you have, we're kind of going a little backwards. If you have, I'll show you a little bit later. If you have a contact code in here, it will close any open contact that was made because the customer was past due. If the customer is past due and you have a contact open that I'll show you the process in a moment, if it was open because of contact, when the payment's received and they come back into terms again, it'll close the contact automatically. So it'll open and close things automatically in the background. Here's the calendar, and I know this one's kind of full. This is ours. It gives, find out what's going on. Click one day and find out what events are running, what's scheduled, what's ready to go out. See on the left side, that'll show you that we added new events to the calendar, the logs, and all these different settings. You probably won't need any of these settings here. All the tabs that are on top here. Here's basically what happened. What happened during the day. If you want to see if this person received an email for the shipping, here it is. They received it. They got sent out. And you can go back and then check here by dropping the table name down of what type of actual email that was. I guess the parts master audit trail. What part, something has changed in the part master, sends them an email. Same thing with the daily totals for invoices. That was the Excel extract. So you'll see all these different events here. So you actually go look at it and find out what happened, what got sent out. And if there's an error next to it here, farther down the right, it'll tell you what the error is. If the email address is incorrect or something happened or something. It'll give you a nice little error log. This is basically one of the events. This is the posted invoice alert. It'll automatically send, the moment you post the invoice, the event manager will attach the invoice and send it with this email to whoever you specify in the Rolodex. That's the only way I would set this up. You wouldn't send it to the person who was in the sales order header, who was the buyer. I mean, you could do it that way as well, but 99% of the time, it should go right to the AR department. So there's a little back work to do before you implement something like this. You would go through and make sure that the Rolodex is right, that AR people are set up, that there's all this stuff is already done in the Rolodex. I mean, you can do it on the fly too, and actually put yourself as a blank recipient here, and when there's no one set up for it to go to, it'll go to that person, and they can go and one at a time go and populate the Rolodexes before you send it out. So that you can do it two ways. I mean, I'd rather fix it initially than go back and keep fixing it. So that works out pretty well. So this is pretty common. Now we've been doing this now for a component control for a few years, and it works out much, much nicer. Now you don't have to worry about printing, folding, sending. It just attaches stuff and sends. The moment that invoice posts, it sends. And you can actually, if you don't have the shipping module, you can actually use one that's called posted invoice with airway bill, and it'll send this basically like an airway bill. It'll have an airway bill right here, and it'll actually go ahead and send it. It'll send it with the airway bill number on it, if you don't have it. But usually if you have shipping module, they would be separate places. All right. The embedded Crystal interface. The big part of Event Manager is its ability to print out Crystal reports. Crystal reports are pretty much how what's going to be in Quantum over the next few years. We're changing all the reports over to Crystal reports. And Crystal reports we're using Crystal reports because it's kind of a de facto standard. Everybody knows how to use Crystal reports. And if you don't know how to use it, you just open it up, and within a couple of hours, you know how it goes together. This is the basic interface, and it's going to change soon. But I'll show you what it looks like now. Basically, this is the manager interface. You would see the folder you want to put it in, and then you would drop a report in here. You would load it and drop it in the report. You could put any report that you have now. Now, actually, there's 10.5. Pretty much everything that you have can go in there. So you drop a report in, and then you can decide, once it's in, who has rights to see it. You would add a user right to see that report. So every report, either by folder, see the folders don't have security, but the reports do. So once you just click on the report, click on security, and there'll be a list of who is in Quantum, and you select the people that you want to run this report. If you don't do that, then they won't show. And make sure to add sysdba, so you, as the administrator, you always know. If you don't add sysdba, they won't see it either. It'll confuse you later. It confused me. So if you think it's there and it's not there. But so if you add sysdba onto that, then you're fine. If you keep on fixing the report and changing it like I do all the time, then you click on it and just click on replace report, and it'll replace the report with the new one. Change versions all the time, though. Every time I make a report, I just version 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, because you never know what you're going to break on one report that worked fine on the other one. And it's also, if you don't have these come with pretty much factory folders like this, but if you want some that say administration or something like that, you can just click on Add New Folder, and it'll make a new folder for you. You can add something to there. This is the administrator interface. This is not what the client's going to see, or not a client, what your users are going to see. This is where you load the reports. This is what this is what your people are going to see. This is the new, as of what, 10.5? 10.5? 10.5? Yeah, 10.5. 10.5. This is a full integrated Crystal report viewer. This is going to allow you to use everything you have now, the drop-downs, date ranges, multiple values. It doesn't exist in what you have now. What you have now is basically one value per field. So most of the Crystal reports previous to this, you had to type in by hand what every variable was, and that never works because the company names sometimes are this long, or you have to be perfectly correct on what it says. I mean, there's ink, dot, not ink, then the report will come out different. So this way, now you can, from the drop-down, you can pull down these fields. So as a 10.5, it'll be completely integrated. So now we can actually go to town with it. Now we can put everything, if you have Crystal Server running, or you have any external Crystal device that's sending out these reports, now you can pretty much put it by the wayside and put it in here. Because when you have it in Quantum here, and you run it in Quantum, it doesn't use another license. Anything you connect from outside, if you open a Crystal report on your desktop and run the report, ding, one license down. You use that license while it's on. If it's in Quantum and you're logged in, it doesn't use another license. I'm really happy about this, because this is taking a long time coming. It's not easy. It's not easy, is it, guys? It took a long time to get to this interface, and I'm quite happy that we have it, because now, if you have your own reports, you can bring them in, and there's not going to be any problem with any of the functionality that we have. Basically, this is the end result here. Once you click on the button and you see the results, This is what it looks like. So a basic report like this, you can print in the corner here. You can send it to Excel by using this button here. You can see all that functionality right there. And plus, I mean, it's just nice to have these reports at your fingertips here. And it uses the same license that I'm using in Quantum now. It uses that same license. It won't use another one. I mean, there's companies that have a lot of external reporting, and a lot of external reporting. Every connection is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, all being used. It gets kind of expensive that way. This way is much, much easier. And plus, you don't have to leave Quantum when you do it. You're writing Quantum, and that's how it's going to work together. Oops, running out of time here. All right. That's important because I only went through this because I want to make sure you know that Event Manager will print these and schedule these for you. Again, when you make a style, which that may change too, so I don't know how much time I want to spend with this. So you make a style in Event Manager. When you use Custom Crystal Event Scheduler, you just pick the style that you created and you schedule it the same way you would the other events, and it'll schedule to come out whenever you want. All right. Contact management. The third piece of our triad here. Contact management was developed by us for us initially. We were using another third-party software. We decided to write it because we needed something to maintain all of our technical support. We had lots and lots of technical support, as you can see, you met out here, and we have a lot of contacts every day. And we've needed something to maintain all these projects and all these different information. So we created the contact management. It just so happens that it works well for everything, projects, different things that you have. And I'm not sure how many people have contact management now. A few. It's actually a really, really powerful module because it's connected everywhere in Quantum, and it's integrated with imaging and with Event Manager, so it can actually develop processes and maintain a lot of different functionality in Quantum. So the Quantum Contact Management module helps you manage the relationships from your customers. From one phone call coming into your office, instead of an email, it's a contact, so you can log everything. Any contact with a client should be logged. Anything comes into our office is logged, so you know what happens. So if a call comes in for a salesperson, that call is logged in the contact management. It's sent to the salesperson. Salesperson then decides what to do with it. It can actually set up workflows as well. It has statuses, so the statuses can actually track where in the workflow these happen. If you have a quote at the beginning, you create a quote, it automatically creates a contact. The contact then has statuses all the way through the sales process until the end. So you actually know what's happening to that quote, all the way to the sales order, to the invoice. So you know what's happening by what the contact attached to it says. It's actually completely configurable. There's a lot of different kind of business structures out there, from shops to sales, to parts traders, different kind of operations. So you can customize it. I set it up basically with a few different types: accounting group, sales, and operations. Easy way to start. So everything in operations gets one, and accounting always has their own, and then sales for everything else. So maybe one operations for customers as well, with contacts. It's integrated with the Quantum process flow, and it has a really nice search capability. If you want to find something 2 years down the road, like I did the other day in Quantum, I wanted to find a part number, a serial number in Quantum in contact management. It's been years since I've seen it. I searched for it, and there it was. Came up right away. It's a really, really quick search of the text, of the description in Quantum of the contact management. And it's completely integrated with Event Manager. So here's basically the search engine you have, the search for the contacts. You can actually search by contact number, who it's assigned to, what status it's in, what company it's for. There's quite a bit of options here. And all these down here are all these different functionality. We're linking it to different other parts of Quantum. But there are all these different searches. I use this one the most, description or notes containing. So whatever you put in the notes, you can actually search for later. If you spoke to somebody that you wrote down in your note what it was, or who it was, you can search for it years later, and it's right there. It's always nice to know, especially in sales or in operations, when someone's not in the office, you can just go look at the company and find out who spoke to them last, what they were doing, and it's all right there in Quantum. Here's basically what it looks like, what I was showing you. Accounting contacts. So when you add a contact in Quantum, you'd have one for accounting, one for operation, one for sales. So let's say this is an operations exception. In shipping, it's on hold because the export license expired. So the shipping manager, whoever, would actually create this contact. The contact then could be assigned to somebody else. That contact will then be emailed, actually trigger the event manager, send an email to that person saying, hey, this contact's been put in your basket. Take care of it. So it's really nice. So once this is done, you say it's critical, it goes out, it's critical, the email goes out, and you've pretty much now handed that off to the management. Now management can then decide what to do. Here's basically what the contact looks like. Once the contact's created, you have this top box here shows the initial text, the incident, basically, what's spawning this contact. And then down below here, you have all of the information afterwards. So you keep adding, people can keep adding different contacts to this in order to store all the information in one place. You can actually drag and drop emails into this format. So if you drag an email into this window here, it'll actually add that email to the contact. The entire email. So be careful. If there's one of those, emails that have been forwarded 100 times, you're going to have everything on there. So you would see the information here. Actually, this tells you, on this window here, it's kind of hard to get everything in the right size. In this window here, it shows you what's been changed, who changed it, when they changed it. So this has been rolling around for a while. Let's say this contact's here, and there's now 20 changes of this contact, and it's been rolling around from person to person to person to person. That's kind of, you have to look at it and say, okay, now stop. Let's find out what's happening here, and let's either send it to the right person or do something else with it. Because I found out after 3 or 4 changes that things started to get a little lost. So you would want to then find the right person to send that to. Here, I'll show you next, this is linked everywhere in Quantum. It completely tied to everywhere in Quantum. Once you create the contact, if you click in this folder here and click Add, it'll show you this. And Paul was looking at the other day, there's no attachment to the stock line. I know that, but. So here you have all the different links in Quantum. If you click on quote, click on the ellipsis down here, and it'll attach it to whatever company quote is open for that company you've added. Same thing with the sales orders, sales order detail. It's all completely connected. The invoices as well. So you have all these different places where you can attach it. It all depends on you where you're going to need these contacts, what kind of information. If you have a work package that was open and you want to automatically spawn a contact with the event manager, then it'd open the contact when the work package is spawned, and then you decide what you're going to do with it, how you're going to track the information. Same with AP. Now, what I'll show you, same with the AR. The AR one's important as well. Basically, this is the management screen. This is a relatively new feature. It's a management screen. From here, you can go and pretty much manage all the contacts. When you first start, you can decide on top here who you want to filter by. Do you want to filter by who it's assigned to, the statuses, or all that information here? And then here's where you're going to work with it. And here you can inspect it, you can email, you can add different links, you can change the status, reassign it, everything from this window. It's a nice central management screen. And here still, if you click on any of these, you'll still see the same information, and you'll see what it's linked to down here. So if you have one of these contacts, like here is my quote that I had out there, and then the sales order that came from it, you'll see all the links down there. So you can always go back to what happened. If someone sent an email to you about, well, this quote, I needed an 8130, or I needed something with this quote, then you would know here, when you send a sales order out and it didn't attach the 8130 to it, you would know that you were wrong, that this client that needed the 8130. But it'll work in your favor and against you sometimes, but the information is there. It's nice to have. Especially if you're not the salesperson actually closing the deal and it's been around for a while, then you can actually get that information from here. And we use it quite a bit. I mean, our technicians we have quite a few technicians, so if someone's gone for the day, I can find out who called, what they called for, did the problem solved, was it not resolved, and then I can see what he tried to fix what your problem was, and if it didn't work, then I can work off that list and continue the process. Same thing in your boat. If a client calls you, and you quote him for something, and he keeps calling and calling and calling for more information, and you already know he's already called all of your coworkers 3 or 4 times for the same information. So then you know what's happening. When there's a contact attached, actually Paul Steer was saying there was a handshake. The handshake's changing. Now there's people. The handshake's moving out and people are moving in. So everywhere in Quantum that you see this little logo, you're going to see, you click on it, you'll see that there's images attached, not images attached, but a contact attached to it. So anywhere you open, you click on this, and the information will be there to what you need to see. So that's everywhere that you're able to attach images to. So how to use all of this functionality is right here. So let's say in the process, you have a process, your monitoring process exception here. You create a contact, someone in the warehouse is repairing something and they have a problem. They open a contact. The contact, they put all the relevant information into the contact, put everything in there, and then they wait. The contact manager will email the management the issues that exist and anything, and anybody else that needs to belong to this, any changes that are made will all be notified at this point in time. And then when management decides what they want to do, they'll fix it, they'll take care of it, they'll close the contact and send that information back, which will email back to the original technician and say, what the deal was and how it was fixed. It's a really nice, simple system. It's all in quantum. It all runs by all three of these working together. He can actually attach an image onto the contact with an issue that he sees, then he'll notify the manager, and that will go through the whole process of emailing automatically through the system until it gets finally resolved at the end, and then the technician gets his answer. So it's a really nice way to actually go through the process. Okay, auto-create. This is a really, really important and actually time-saving event. What happens is when we were doing a component control, every month we create statements. 3 people, 3 days, about $700 in postage, basically. So what we do now is what you've probably seen and you've all received over the last year or so were automatic AR statements. Only because when we set up this event, it works out the same way the past due event is. The past due is just showing what's past due, but usually on the 1st you send the statement, on the 15th you send the past due. So the first day, let's say that this is the past due one we're looking at now. So on the 15th of the month, event manager starts up. You have it at past due accounts open. It'll send an email to every one of your clients with the statement of the past due notification. That's a simple email. It says you're past due, your account's past due, and then it shows a statement of what they're past due on. Ours, we have 1,800, whatever it takes, a minute and a half to send all the emails out. A minute and a half, 3 days, no postage. It's really, really, really a nice way to do it. So when this all goes out, the event manager, then on top of that, for every one of those emails that it creates and sends out, it opens a contact for the person in accounting to actually follow up. So if you send all the past due notifications out, now the follow-up's going to come when the event manager then opens up a contact for each one of those companies in the accounting person's name. So now when they log in the morning, they're going to have all these open contacts, and that's the workload for the day. Then you start calling every company in there until you figure out how to get payment. So that's their list. And it's nice because once that's done, once it goes past that, then when they receive the payment, like we saw previously, it will, if a payment's been received, it'll send a nice note out to the client saying it's paid for, but it'll also automatically close that contact. It'll say, payment's been received, the contact's closed. So you won't have this never-ending list of contacts opening, so they have to close it manually. It's an automatic practice. So now everything that the accountant's going to see in the morning is actually what's past due. There's no payment been received on it. When the payment's done, it posts, sends the email out, closes that. It's a really nice way of doing things. I mean, so you don't have to worry about it. Well, that was quick. I'm running through it. Okay, so what I wanted to get at is putting all this together. Like when I do at Advanced Services, I walk in and I decide, I look at your practices and look at your processes and see what you can use of these modules. If you don't have them already, or if you do have them, how to use them better. How to actually get them all to work together, and how to kind of make one process flow for all of these, that they're all, to get as much automation as possible in the system. If you want to take a look at our website, we have actually a link on our website for document imaging. And we have one for event manager and contact management. We have a lot of training videos online as well to actually see some of these different modules. I'm not sure they go into depth about how to go together. I know they have them, what they do. Let's start off with what they do, and then we'll move on actually to how to integrate them all together. Same with contact management. Also, we have the website, and also Advanced Services is only about a year old. I don't have a website yet, but I will eventually. So what you should look at, really, is if you go back to your offices and just take a look and see if you're using any of this functionality. I know that a lot of people bought Event Manager early on, and it's just been sitting. And I know with all the improvements we made on 10.4 and now on 10.5, there's a lot of stuff in there, so you probably have to look at it again. If you watch a training video first, go online, look at the training video, see if you're using anything at all. I mean, really, sometimes I walk in and they've never used it before, but we've installed it, but it's never been used. It does a lot. It has a lot of power to it. It's not just for a quickie email to show who received stock. It can do quite a bit. It can save a lot of work. I mean, I've saved, just going to certain companies and do just the AR statements, save one person's job during the week. That's what they did, made just AR statements. That was one person that could do something else. So it's kind of a saving endeavor. And plus, if you need something that's special, then we can actually, make something different, or you can make something different. We could probably work off what we have already and make something for you to what you need to do. So that's about it. Anybody any questions? I'm a little bit early, but a few minutes early. Yes? No.
Okay, and where do you find the event schedule? I've looked for it.
I'll put it on your desktop. It's in the quantum folder. It's in the quantum folder, so we don't put it out on everybody's desktop because you don't want everybody to have access to it. So it's inside the quantum folder on the server. So basically, we have to make a shortcut on your desktop to yeah. So once you put it on there, then you'll be able to access it and do whatever. But you don't have to be sysdba. You can do it as your own username. That's why we hide it. You keep it hidden back there because you usually want one manager of the event manager, one person maintaining it because you don't want too many people involved. Anybody else? I guess we finished early. Thanks, everybody. Any other questions? Anybody? Oh, yes. 10.5. 10.5, when is a good 10.5 going to be out? End of the month? Next month? Let's say next month. So 10.5 will have all the nicer stuff in it. So it should be by the end of the month. End of next month. I will wait. You know how it is. Everything's new. Wait. But it's nice. It'll be nice to have. Just for the crystal part, I would want it sooner than later. But if you have a test environment and we get 10.5 ready to go, put it on there just to see the crystal part because it'll be a lot nicer. The gun's on him, right? He's doing the crystal stuff, so it'll really be helpful to have that in there. It'll make it a lot easier for everybody. Once you don't have to run two separate crystal servers, you can run everything in one. Once everything can be in one, then there's a lot less overhead, a lot less problems with everything. Oh, any other questions? Anybody? All right, thank you.